I'm going to wait for some people to get in here. Thank you for the likes before we get started on the true crime portion of this whole thing. Also, I still need to finish getting set up. Oh, that is the wrong set of pills. Oh, that was almost bad, y'all. I'd have been asleep. Oh, they've changed the time of my oral surgery next Monday. So it's at 10:30. I can eat 6 hours beforehand, which is like absolute bullshit in my opinion, because I won't be able to eat anything good afterwards either for like 2 weeks till I get the dental implants put in, but whatever. We'll do it their way, I guess. So I'm thinking of adding at some point a segment on the Native American murders. If I have any Native American followers, I mean, I'm like 40% Cherokee, but like I don't want to be like overstepping any boundaries because I'm white passing, and that would just be like totally not cool, you know? So if I have any Native American followers, could you tell me if that would be okay with you guys, or if I should not? Because I would love to bring attention to obviously what is going on within your community, but I don't want to step on any toes or make anybody mad. Obviously. Because that's just, you know, not how I work. I'm just getting set up before I start the true crime stuff. I mean, you do you. Oh shit, I forgot the rubber band broke last night. Hold on. That's okay, we've got more. That's only 323, but thank you. Either way, I appreciate it. Thank you for the likes. It's delayed. Thank you, Me6, for the likes. I appreciate it. Alright. I get the most following out of these true crime videos, and I love it. I love that I have kind of found my niche with people, that they love the true crime stuff. That's great. If I could break this down into like 3-minute videos, I would just post them on TikTok for people to watch later. But like, you can't really condense it. You just can't. Because I feel like if you condense it too much, then you're not giving the victims any justice. So today's segment is on Btk. Because, you know, he did some bad shit. Big time bad shit. Wow. Okay. Okay. Woo-hoo. There we go. I feel like, yeah, there's too many things over here. Okay. Is that it? Yep. Okay, cool. Alright. Sorry, we don't do live requests because I am working on a segment 474. Okay, so from this point forward, I will not be answering questions or speaking to you individually on either live Facebook or TikTok because it interrupts the segment and that makes it very difficult for me to stay in place. All right. Y'all ready? Let's do this. After I hurt myself, apparently. I have to hurt myself first. Let's start here. Dennis Lynn Rader was born on March 9th, 1946. He was the American serial killer known as BTK, which stood for Bind, Torture, and Kill. Between 1974 and 1991, he killed 10 people in the Wichita and Park City, Kansas, and sent taunting letters to police and newspapers in 2004, leading to his 2005 arrest and subsequent guilty plea. He is now serving 10 consecutive life sentences in El Dorado Correctional Facility in El Dorado, Kansas. His parents were Dorothea May and William Elvin Rader, and he was one of 4 sons, so he only had brothers. His brothers are Paul, Jeff, and Bill Rader. I honestly could not find anything more about them, whether the family kept the name or not. I think the parents did. I don't know about the siblings. Both parents worked long hours and paid little attention to their children at home, and Dennis stated feeling resentment towards his mother for her lack of attention. I mean, that's fair. I can understand that. Doesn't justify what he did, though. From a young age, Rader harbored sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing trapped and helpless women. He also exhibited zoo sadism by torturing, killing, and hanging small animals. Rader acted out sexual fetishes for voyeurism, autoerotic asphyxiation, and cross-dressing. He often spied on female neighbors while dressed in women's clothing. I'm not sure if he thought if that was just wanting to be in their clothes, like in women's clothes, or if he like legit thought that somehow that would make it harder for him to get caught because he was wearing women's clothes. Don't know. Didn't specify that. Years later, during his cooling off periods between murders, Rader would take pictures of himself wearing women's clothes and a female mask while bound. He later admitted that he was pretending to be his victims as part of a sexual fantasy. Rader kept his sexual proclivities well hidden, and he was widely regarded in his community as normal, polite, and well-mannered. Now, if you know anything about sociopaths or the sociopathic charts that they use to determine if you're sociopathic, most sociopaths and psychopaths and serial killers, they appear normal. They're your everyday people. They have families, relationships, sometimes full-time jobs. They're very normal-like people. They don't look any different than you and I. Rader attended Kansas Wesleyan University but received mediocre grades and dropped out after only 1 year. He served in the United States Air Force from 1966 to 1970. He married Paula Dietz on May 22nd, 1971. They had 2 children, Carrie and Brian. He attended Butler County Community College and earned an associate's degree in electronics in 1973. He then enrolled at Wichita State University and graduated in 1979 with a Bachelor of Science degree, majoring in Administration of Justice. Rader was a member of Christ Lutheran Church and had been elected president of the church council. He was also a Cub Scout leader. Because, you know what I've noticed? Like, I feel like a lot of serial killers do things that seem very normal, and then you're just like, how did they not know? Like, a lot of serial killers have served in the frickin' United States Army, the military in some fashion. And I'm just like, how did you not know that this dude was crazy? Don't you have to do psych evals and shit? Anyway, on July 26, 2005, after Rader's arrest, his wife was granted an emergency divorce. In an interview with ABC News in 2019, Rader's daughter, Carrie, said she still writes to her father and has now forgiven him, but still struggles to reconcile him with the BTK killer, stating her childhood seemed normal and they were a normal American family. Apparently not too normal. Daddy was crazy. January 15th, 1974, 4 members of the Otero family were murdered. The victims were Joseph Otero, 38, Julie Otero, 33, which, I mean, is like the same age I am now. I mean, I'm 34, but close enough. Sad. Joseph Otero Jr., age 9, and Josephine Otero, age 11. Please forgive me if at any point I mispronounce somebody's last name. These are not the easiest last names to pronounce. I've heard it pronounced several different ways when I tried to look up how to pronounce it. I tried. Their bodies were discovered by the family's 3 older children, Charlie, Danny, and Carmen, who had been at school at the time of the killings. Rader wrote a letter that had been stashed inside an engineering book in the Wichita Public Library in October of 1974. Which described in detail the killing of the Otero family in January of that year. Now, I left out the segments that, like, had, like, parts of the letter in here because they were so graphic. Like, he talked about, but I will tell you a little bit of what was in the letter. Like, he talked about the fact that he masturbated to the hung body of Josephine. Josie, as the family called her, was hung, and he masturbated to that, and it's like he gave just intimate details, and obviously that, you know, that the father was taken out first, because that's just how it is with male serial killers. If there is a father or husband home, they tend to take out the husband first, because obviously the husband can fight back, so he's going to be the one that you're going to take out first, because he's the big bad guy, you know, he's the family protector. But other than that, I'm not really going to get into the letters too much, because, like I said, they were graphic and disgusting, and they made me gag while I was reading or researching. Like, it's disgusting. Between the spring of 1974 and winter 1977, Rader killed 3 more women. Catherine Bright, April 4th, 1974. Charlie Vianne Relford, March 17th, 1977. And Nancy Fox, December 8th, 1977. In early 1978, he sent another letter to television station Cake, K-A-K-E, claiming responsibility for the murders of the Oteros. My computer corrected that to Oreos. I'm sorry, this is not funny, but I just realized it said Oreos. Oteros, Bright, Vianne Relford, and Fox. He suggested many possible names for himself, including the one that stuck, BTK. Also, like, you know, the news and the media, they get a lot of credit for coming up with the names of serial killers, but I want to point out this. 9 times out of 10, it is not the media who names these serial killers. The serial killers name themselves. They come up with their own thing. Like, BTK came from him signing letters of BTK. Son of Sam picked his own name. He picked all of the names that actually were used for him before he settled on wanting to be called Son of Sam. John Wayne Gacy's came from what he did for a living. They're really not the creative masterminds here that everybody wants to think they are. 9 times out of 10, the serial killers have in some way helped suggest their own names. Or they come from something obvious, like Jeffrey Dahmer's issue was cannibalism, so the Milwaukee Cannibal. It's really not creative on the media's part. You would think they would just learn to, like, not give into it so that they don't get big heads, because, you know, the media is doing what they want and giving them the names that they want, but the media doesn't like to listen, so I guess not. I did this wrong. I did this out of order. It's okay. Anyway. Also, I feel the need to mention, because it was not mentioned in any of the research that I did, that Catherine Bright, when she was murdered, was with her brother, and he did survive the attack, but he was not able to lead them to Dennis Rader because he suffered brain damage from having his head bashed in. Sorry, hold on. I'm like choking. From having his head bashed in. So there was brain damage done there, and he was not able to identify BTK himself. He tried to give them a description at the police station, but it wasn't making any sense what was coming out of his mouth because, like I said, he had brain damage. He demanded media attention in the second letter, and it was announced that Wichita did indeed have a serial killer at large. So the thing is that with serial killers, they always demand media attention, and I don't know why the media is like, okay, let's do it, because you would think that would just make them more motivated to kill. You would think. So I don't know what the media's plan is when they announce that there's a serial killer at large, and they give, the attention that the serial killer is demanding, but they do it, and panic ensues, and bad shit happens, and you get false confessions, and it's harder to find the actual killer, and blah blah blah. So you would think they would learn from this, but no, they still haven't learned this lesson, and they continue to announce things that incite panic and make people do dumb shit. If I was in the media, I'd be like, sorry, I'm not doing that because I know what's gonna happen. But then again, I also research these things for fun, so I do know what's going to happen. They apparently did not. So a poem was enclosed with that second letter titled, "Oh, Death to Nancy." In this letter, he claimed to be driven to kill by Factor X, which he characterized as a supernatural element that also motivated Jack the Ripper, the Son of Sam, and the Hillside Stranglers. I don't know what he meant by supernatural element, because I'm not really sure if he thought like he was motivated by Satan or by witches or what, but that was exactly what he called it. It was in his quotes. It was a supernatural phenomenon that made him murder people. But I would feel that if you really have this supernatural thing, you wouldn't be able to take a cooling off period. And when his daughter was born, that's exactly what he did. He took time off to care for his child. And if you really have the but I also noticed that it said Jack the Ripper or the Son of Sam and the Hillside Stranglers. These are people that they took time off between killing, or they really didn't have a specific type of person that they were killing. They pretty much went with anybody they could get their hands on, and that is also probably the best way to stop yourself from getting caught for an extended period of time, is if you don't have a specific type of person that you are looking at killing, especially if you're all over the map with age range and sexuality and ethnicity. These are things that make it easier to narrow it down to what you could possibly be killing them for. I'm not giving you any ideas. Don't go kill people. That's not nice. Don't do it. Don't do it. But it makes it a little harder to track them down when they don't seem to have a specific type. He intended to kill others, such as Ann Williams, 63, who in 1979 escaped death by returning home much later than expected. Rader said that he became obsessed with Williams and was livid she evaded him. He spent hours waiting at her home, became impatient, and left when she did not return home from visiting friends until well after midnight. Honestly, I'm grateful that she didn't come home when she was supposed to originally, because he was waiting for her, and that's at least one less person that I have to mention in this segment as being a victim of his. Maureen Hedge, 53, was found on May 15th, 1985 at East Street North. Can't speak English. I love you too. Don't be floating down the rainy river. That's not a good idea. Okay. Rader killed her on April 27th and took her body to his church. I don't know, like, did he just straight up walk into this church with a dead body? Like, don't worry about it. You didn't see anything, okay? Nothing weird is happening here. Because if you walked up into a church with a dead body any other time, they'd be like, the fuck you doing, bro? Anyway, there he photographed her body in various bondage positions. A 53-year-old woman. His age range of victims was so fucking vast that, like, I don't know how that works. Like, if it's just, like, the murder that he gets off on, the bondage part that he gets off on, or what, but apparently it didn't matter if they were male, female, 50, 12, whatever the case may be. I mean, horrible as it is, it did not matter to him. It matters to me, because don't kill people. Rader had previously stored black plastic sheets and other materials at the church in preparation for the murder, and then later dumped the body in a remote ditch. He had called his plan Project Cookie. Makes you want to never look at a cookie in the same way again. Also, again, with this bringing the body to the church part, he stored black plastic sheets and other materials at the church in preparation for this murder, and apparently nobody saw these things and was like, what are you doing? Like, why do we need this? And, or, like, if he said he was painting the church or having renovations done to the church, nobody bothered to question the fact that these paintings or renovations were just never done. We didn't question that. There's so many things about the church part that just, like, have me questioning the smarts of the people in Wichita at this time. In 1988, after the murders of 3 members of the Fager family, a letter was received from someone claiming to be the BTK killer, in which the author of the letter denied being the perpetrator of the Fager murders. They were never attributed to him. The wife of Mr. Fager did finally admit that she hired somebody to kill her family. I didn't really look into that. There's not a whole lot of, like, anything exciting on that for me to do a whole segment about. I mean, it'd take me, like, 2 seconds to tell you what happened. She hired somebody to murder her husband and kids because she wanted to be with another man, and I guess rather than get a divorce, she was like, nope, I'm gonna murder my husband and my kids and take the life insurance, and I'm gonna live off that and marry this guy that probably won't give 2 shits about me when I'm no longer married. But yeah, so the Fager murders were not a BTK killing. They were on their own. 2 women who Rader stalked in the 1980s and one who he stalked in the mid-1900s filed restraining orders against him. One of them also changed her address to avoid him. I hate when this thing does this. His final victim, Dolores E Davis, was found on February 1st, 1991, at West 117th Street North and North Meridian Street, Park City. Rader killed her on January 19th. Again, with her, it was very hard for me to find any, like, specific age. They weren't really sure. I don't know if that's because when her body was found, it was decomposing or what, or if she just didn't have an ID, or, like, what the issue was there. But they had her anywhere between the age of 53 and 73. So some have very specific, but I couldn't find anything about her individually on Wikipedia. I couldn't find anything about her really that would solidify how old she was. Give me just a second here. By 2004, the investigation of the BTK killer was considered a cold case. Then Rader initiated a series of 11 communications to the local media. This activity led directly to his arrest in February of 2005. In March of 2004, the Wichita Eagle received a letter from someone using the name Bill Thomas Kilman. The author of the letter claimed that he had murdered Vicky Wegerly on September 16th of 1986 and enclosed photographs of the crime scene and a photocopy of her driver's license, which had been stolen at the time of the crime. Before this, it had been definitively established that Wegerly was killed by BTK. DNA collected from under Wegerly's fingernails provided police previously unknown evidence. They then began DNA testing hundreds of men in an effort to find the serial killer. And apparently nobody was like, the man at the church, he could have done it. Because he was a church man, right? So they were like, couldn't be him. Boy, I bet that was a shock. In May 2004, Cake received a letter with the chapter headings for the Btk Story, fake IDs, and a word puzzle. On June 9th, the package was found taped to a stop sign at the corner of First and Kansas roads in Wichita. It had graphic descriptions of the Otero murders. Again, I did not include segments of these letters. I've already told you the letters that he wrote were just disgusting. They were vile. Just vile. It had... Oh, and a sketch labeled, "The Sexual Thrill Is My Bill." Horrible. Horrible man. I'm glad he's in jail. Although they probably should have put a needle in his arm. Also enclosed was a chapter for a proposed book titled The Btk Story, which mimicked a story written in 1999 by David Lauer. In July, a package dropped into the return slot at a public library contained more bizarre material, including the claim that he was responsible for the death of 19-year-old Jake Allen in Argonia, Kansas, earlier that month. This claim was false, and the death was ruled a suicide. Again, that was another issue I could not find a lot about, another death that I could not find a lot about. But they were pretty certain it was suicide, and that BTK didn't do it. I don't know why he would claim that he was responsible for a death he didn't do. I guess maybe if he did get caught, he was like, well, if I get caught, I'm going to jail for life anyway. Might as well take as many false allegations as I can so I can be cool in jail, I guess. I don't fucking know. Serial killers make no sense to me. Anyway, Rader admitted in his interrogation that he had been planning to kill again and had set a date of October 2004 and was stalking his intended victim. Give me 1 second to do eyeliner. That's really hard to do and talk at the same time. Hello, Aaliyah. Sorry, I try not to respond to personal comments anywhere because during these segments because it can interrupt, obviously, my flow, and we don't want that. Because these segments take forever to do, and, right? Give me just a second. Gotta finish the eyeliner here. Okay. Where was I? In October, a manila envelope was dropped into a UPS box in Wichita. It had many cards with images of terror and bondage of children pasted on them. It surprises me that he's stuck with sending pictures of children in bondage when children weren't really his thing. In all honesty, he was more invested in adults with bondage than he was the children. I mean, obviously, Josie was hung after, her whole family was killed. She was the last one killed, and she was hung. But all of his other victims were adult women. So I don't know what the obsession with sending children pornographic bondage images of children was, when really he preferred, obviously, adult women. I honestly don't know what that was for, other than I guess maybe terrorizing the police is probably just about it. A poem threatening the life of lead investigator Lieutenant Ken Landwehr, and a false autobiography with many details about Rader's life was also included. These details were later released to the public. In December 2004, Wichita police received another package from the BTK killer. This time, the package was found in Murdoch Park. It had the driver's license of Nancy Fox, which was noted as stolen from the crime scene. Why can I not get this open again? As well as a doll that was symbolically bound at the hands and feet and had a plastic bag tied over its head, which was how Nancy Fox was killed. I think that's how Catherine Bright was killed too, actually. Plastic bags are apparently the thing to do in this case. Rader asked police if put on a floppy disk, could it be traced or not? So, like, if the next thing he wrote, he sent the floppy disk instead of printing the letter and sending it. The police answered his question in a newspaper and posted it in the Wichita Eagle, saying it would be safe to use the disk. Okay, now, I'm just going to put this out there because this is the part that just absolutely blows my mind. Serial killers are supposed to be these, like, really smart people because, especially this guy, because he's gotten away with it for so long, right? And he thought, I'm going to ask the police if I send them a floppy disk if they can trace it back to me. The police were not going to be like, yeah, we totally can. You shouldn't send us that because we can totally find you that way. The police are going to be like, nah, but we can, but we're not going to tell you we can because this is how we're going to get you. And he believed them. He believed them. And I'm just sitting here like, bro. Okay. They are not going to tell you that they can trace you by your floppy disk because you want to send them one. And they're like, great, we can end this shit. We'll know who you are because we're the police and we have the ability to track down this floppy disk and where it came from. Also, another thing that I never understood is they never seemed to mention checking postmarks or anything. So I don't know if they didn't have like a return address or anything, but they didn't like go to like any post offices and be like, hey, did you see who dropped off this letter? Who had you send this to us? Where did you pick it up from? None of that was ever done, and I'm not really sure why. But they never seem to do that. So apparently there's a reason why they can't. So on February 16th, 2005, Rader sent a purple 1.44 megabyte Memorex floppy disk to Fox affiliate KSAS TV in Wichita. Also enclosed were a letter, a gold-colored necklace with a large medallion, and a photocopy of the cover of Rules of Prey, a 1989 novel by John Sanford about a serial killer. Apparently, like, they say he wasn't very intelligent, but he apparently read a lot. So, sometimes I wonder if they don't feign being, dumb. Because, also, you gotta think about the fact that he got away with this from 1974 to 2005. Can't be too dumb, because he outsmarted the police that whole time. Police found metadata embedded in a deleted Microsoft Word document that was unknown to Rader, still stored on the floppy disk. The metadata contained the words Christ Lutheran Church, and the document was marked as last modified by Dennis. An internet search determined that a Dennis Rader was president of the church council. Rader was arrested while driving near his home in Park City shortly after noon on February 26, 2005. An officer asked Mr. Rader, do you know why you're going downtown? Rader replied, oh, I have a few suspicions as to why. So basically, he knew the jig was up. He knew he was caught. Rader was arrested, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, the FBI and ATF agents searched Rader's home and vehicle, seizing evidence including computer equipment, black pantyhose, and a cylindrical container. At a press conference the next morning, Police Chief Norman Williams announced the bottom line: Btk is arrested. On February 28th, 2005, Rader was charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. On March 1st, his bail was set at $10 million. Because we all know there ain't no way in hell this guy was getting $10 million. Don't know why they just didn't remand him to the custody of court, but apparently they thought, let's just set the bail really freaking high, because nobody in the state of Kansas owns anything that's worth $10 million. And I can say this because most of my family lives in Kansas. And there is nothing there that is worth anything of about $10 million. On June 27th, he pled guilty. He described the murders in detail and gave no apologies. He showed no remorse or emotion at his trial. At the August 18th sentencing, victims' families made statements known as victim impact statements, and Rader gave a 30-minute speech that was emotion and meaningless. Basically, he just said he was sorry in hopes that the court wouldn't put him to death. That's pretty much what it was. He wasn't actually sorry. He didn't feel guilty. He didn't care. If he did care, he obviously wouldn't go around murdering a bunch of people in the first place. He was sentenced to 10 death sentences with a minimum of 175 years to be served consecutively. Kansas had no death penalty at this time. So I guess he wouldn't have gotten the death penalty anyway, because Kansas does not have the death penalty. I don't know if they do now, but they didn't then, apparently. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for a new makeup look, and next Friday for the case of the Hillside Stranglers. As always, have a good day, make good choices, and be kind to others. Also, before I end out these segments, I want you all to know that I am having oral surgery on Monday. They have moved my appointment from 12:30 to 10:30, so I may have a few days where you don't see me. Also, I'm kind of struggling with whether or not I actually want to get online and do makeup looks, because they're basically removing all of my teeth. So this is a struggle for my vanity. I know that's really shallow and vain to say, but I haven't decided if I'm just going to risk hate comments and get on here and do it anyway, or if I'm just going to take that time off to heal. But either way, you may not see me Friday doing makeup, but I will get on here and do a true crime segment. I just may wear a mask. So, other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Please make good choices. Trust your gut. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Be kind to others. Just not too kind, because that's how these people get murdered. And have a good day. Be nice. Love each other. Bye, guys.